the house. What's up, Julian?
Hello. Not much. Doing well.
So,
Weather's good.
Julian, you didn't hear that Shake Shack is giving away free burgers if you get your jab?
No, I didn't. I must have missed this.
Yeah, it's not
I
just
guess.
Krispy Kreme. It's not just that Ohio lottery. I guess Shake Shack is giving you a free burger. If you come in,
Oh,
show that shot. I was in New York last week, and I got this news right after I left, and I was devastated. Devastated because
yeah.
nobody likes a good deal better than me. Okay. I
No,
think we've established that.
that is true.
And
Yeah.
to get a free burger for something I already got, it was a tough pill to swallow, as they say.
Yeah.
Um,
Oof.
yeah, I mean, if Five Guys does it, then I'm just throwing out everything out the window. I'm getting in the car. I'm going to Five Guys. But
Getting as many shots as you can, right?
yeah, exactly. Just throw me that AstraZeneca. Throw me
Yeah.
that J&J. Okay, how many times can I? Let's take this to its inevitable conclusion.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome, viewers. Thank you for coming at us with a different time. If you have any questions, whatever questions you've got about travel, your exciting plans for this summer, the big EU news today that Americans are going to be able to take those Europe vacations, drop them in the comment section. We're going to get to as many as we can, as is SCF law. I have to answer the first question no matter what. And then we're going to get to as many other questions as we can. So make sure you get those comments or questions in the section below. In the meantime, Julian, what's your next trip? What do you got upcoming?
Good question. I am probably going to do. So me and my girlfriend are big Clearwater, St. Petersburg, Florida fans. So probably going to do a trip there when we're able to. That'll probably be the next one coming up. Yeah.
Now, what is it that draws you to Clearwater, St. Petersburg, Tampa? Is it the Cuban food? Is it the beaches?
It's the
Is it
beaches.
the nightlife? You hitting those clubs? What's going on?
No, the beaches are big. I mean, Clearwater Beach, I think, is one of my favorite beaches. Sand is amazingly white, and the water it's the Gulf water, which, as someone who grew up on the East Coast and is very used to the ocean water, Gulf water is very different, and I'm a big fan.
Did you see manatees while you're out there?
I haven't. So that is something that I'm definitely trying to see. And if anyone watching here has any tips or recommendations on the best places to see manatees other than, I think, Crystal River, is that what it's called?
Dude, so it's funny you mentioned, I was exactly going to say Crystal River because I have some family friends in Crystal River who I'm sure would be more than down to show off some of their manatee. They're like local manatees. If you're wanting to make that trip and hang out with some friends of Scott's, hit me up. More like friends of Scott's parents. Sorry, I've got a cat on my.
No, there you go. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna have to do. Seeing a manatee is high on my list, but unfortunately, it is something that I have not done before. And Katie says I saw manatees in Key Largo, so.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah,
they're just like puppies of the sea.
I know. But yeah, we're getting some great comments. The one I want to, so Brooklyn Joe says hi from Phoenix. KK
What's up, Brooklyn Joe?
And something that I wanted to ask you, so I guess I wanted to sort of take the first question. Allison says, hey guys, congrats Scott on the book release and press appearances. What was that experience like? I mean, the book's out. It's here.
Yeah, the book got released a week ago. I am frankly just so relieved to be on this side of it. It's been a whirlwind. All your like sweet messages and reviews have been so heartwarming because look, when you publish a book, it is nerve-wracking. It's basically like going streaking through Times Square. Okay, you're just like, damn. Exactly. We all can relate to this.
Right, of course.
To see all the like kind messages and heartfelt reviews and folks sending along their best wishes, it just means so much to me. And so my main ask, if you're somebody, if you've gotten the book, if you've read it, if you've enjoyed it, please consider leaving a review on either Amazon or Goodreads or wherever you bought your book. means so much to me to see those nice messages. And there were a couple haters in there that made me just made me feel terrible, if I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
Just like, oh, Scott doesn't know what he's talking about flights. This is the same old BS. And 1 star. And I was like, oh, I spent 2 years on this thing. Has everything I know. So if you're watching, if you've gotten the book, enjoyed it, or just like SCF, please think about leaving a review. It would mean so much. But thank you, Allison. And thank you to so many of you who pre-ordered the book, who picked it up early. It means so much. I think we'll find out this evening, maybe, if it made any bestseller list. I've come to peace with it. If it hasn't, we've tried our best. We'll see, though. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, right? You can get thousands and thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews, but
it's always the 1-star review. Like, why doesn't this person like me?
I know, but that doesn't mean people shouldn't be leaving those 5-star reviews. So, like Scott said, if you're a fan of the book, definitely go make Scott feel better. I think that's what it is. Speaking of which, Brooklyn Joe says, I've been reading the book. Funny that you mentioned Capital Airlines. I flew them in 1981 from JFK to LAX for $325.
For $325, oh my gosh, you can get that flight nowadays for like $150. No, it's kind of funny the way that airfare's gone. I'm glad you brought up that fare because, like, look, it used to be really expensive to fly. Like, it used to be something that was reserved just, you had to pay a good chunk of your monthly income just to be able to get an air ticket. And now you can get that flight for, $150, $100 sometimes. And the biggest mistake that I see people make is assuming that flights have to be expensive, regardless of where, whether you want to fly to the other coast, whether you want to fly to Europe, whether you want to fly to Asia. The biggest mistake people make is assuming flights are going to be expensive and therefore overpaying for their ticket. You can get these flights cheap now that we're living in the golden age of cheap flights. And I'm so glad that you picked up that kind of history and mention of Capital Airlines, Joe.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some questions here. Kelly is asking, why is flying to Cancun so expensive trying to go in July?
So generally speaking, it is, we see a lot of cheap flights there, but the thing to remember is that there's no one set price to any given destination. It's a heterodoxy. There's, expensive flights and cheap flights, and today's expensive flight might be tomorrow's cheap flight. The thing you've got working against you here is the July aspect. So July, if you had to pick 1 month out of the year when airfare tends to be the most expensive, it's almost certainly July.
Yeah.
And the reason why is that you got students, you got teachers, you got parents with kids in school, all of whom are maybe only traveling during this, around the school calendar. And so whether, whereas in early June, sometimes some kids are still in school, or late August, some kids are already going back to school. July, basically everybody's off. And so everybody's trying to travel. And that's why fares tend to be more expensive. And this is why when you're traveling in a peak travel period, especially internationally, you want to try to book, 4 to 10 months ahead of time is what's the Goldilocks window. It's one of the things we mentioned in chapter, I want to say chapter 4. There's like 12 chapters in there, and trying to remember which chapter each specific thing is in is can be a little bit tough sometimes. But the Goldilocks windows for when cheap flights are most likely to pop up is probably for Cancun in July. We're certainly well past it. I mean, there's not zero hope that something cheap will pop up, but depending on where you're flying from, I would, and if you have to go in July, I would make peace with, being willing to pay more than you might have expected otherwise. 300, 350, even 400 for July, not out of the question, because what you don't want to do is get to late June not having booked your tickets yet and wind up paying that extra premium for booking last minute flights as well.
For sure. And also I wanted to say that you do know your own book very well. It is chapter 4.
Excellent. Yeah. I'm so glad.
There you go. Speaking of, this is actually a related question. Susan asked, should we buy tickets to Hawaii for Christmas now?
If they pop up cheap, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you don't want to just arbitrarily buy it at some point in advance, regardless of what the fare is. But you are 100% correct to be starting looking for those now, because, you know, we mentioned those Goldilocks windows. Christmas, New Year's is the other time of year when fares tend to be at their most expensive, especially for a popular leisure route like Hawaii. And so when you're hoping to travel during those peak periods, the best kind of memorable rule of thumb is always book opposite season. When you're at your 4th of July barbecue, that's when you're thinking about booking your Christmas flights. And when you're opening presents on Christmas morning, that's when you're thinking about booking those summer flights. So right now and for the next, 3-4 months is when I would be monitoring. And again, what I would expect to pay or hope to pay depends somewhat on where you're flying from. If you're flying from the West Coast, especially considering it's Christmas, I would be thrilled with anything under like $275. If it weren't Christmas, if you're traveling in early November or even early December, you could generally get away with less than 200, 200-ish round trip. Given that it's Christmas, I would be thrilled with anything under $300 round trip. And that's what I'd be holding out for over these next few months. And if that hasn't popped up by, late July, August, at that point, I'm starting to say, okay, I'll book something under 350. And, you go another couple weeks and nothing pops up. I'll book something under 400. You kind of gradually starting to move that window of what fare you're willing to pay the closer you get. But the good news about booking, planning so far in advance is that you can hold out for those cheap fares, which I think there's a very good possibility they'll pop up.
Yeah. Brandon says, I'm going to Greece in a few weeks. Boom. That's amazing.
Yes, Brandon, congrats.
Yeah.
Man, so exciting to see all this, Europe travel news for this summer. Folks excited, borders opening up, people able to take these trips. And I think it's going to be, I was talking to a reporter this morning. I think it's going to be a really great summer for Europe travel. And the reason why I think it's going to be so great is for like you and I and a lot of folks on this chat are comfortable and excited traveling abroad. We've gotten our vaccinations, we're ready to go, but there's still a lot of folks, and not to belittle or pressure, there's still a lot of folks who are not yet comfortable traveling abroad. And I don't blame them. Look, it's been a traumatic 15 months. A lot of folks, it's going to take a while to get back to normalcy, to get back to the things we love to do beforehand. There was a survey the other day just that, among fully vaccinated Americans, what did you feel comfortable doing right now? Only 20% said they felt comfortable traveling abroad. By this time next summer, I think that's going to be close to back to 100%, or at least to whatever that comfort level was pre-pandemic. But the point is, for this summer, I think you can expect to see some of those really iconic destinations in Europe with a third of the crowd that you would normally expect, a quarter of the crowds, like places like Athens and Rome and Barcelona and Venice and Paris that are usually really swamped, especially in the summertime. I think you might actually have a lot more room and a lot fewer tourists than you would normally expect, even though the number of people there is going to be higher than it is like right now or that it's been in April. It's still going to be quite a bit less than it was in pre-pandemic times. So it could be actually a really fun summer for visiting some of these popular tourist destinations in Europe.
Yeah. The Wit said, I got an alert for the $400 to London on JetBlue from Austin, but when I checked, it's not there. That was Scott. Were you following that storyline today? Or
I saw that the fare started to go on sale, but I wasn't kind of keeping track with what happened.
It was super weird, and I don't know if I fully understood the final story, but from what I was getting based off our team talking and everything, it was sort of a mistake on their end where they didn't put in like the tax and fees portion of the cost, which is why the prices were showing differently, and then a lot of people weren't able to get onto the website. From what I heard, a few people were able to book it, so that's amazing for those few people. But yeah, it was just for a launch day, I don't think it was as clean as maybe they might have hoped.
Yeah, almost like a little bit of a mistake fare.
Yeah.
Well, hey, congratulations to those of you who were able to get in on it. Oftentimes it pays to book quickly, and especially when you book directly with the airline, remembering that you automatically, as per chapter 12, I believe, automatically have 24 hours after the moment you hit purchase, during which you can cancel it and get a full refund, no questions asked, no fees or penalties taken out. So locking in, a flight that you think you're interested in, but not 100% sure, sometimes that can actually be the best route, because you're essentially just freezing the price for 24 hours, and you can decide in that if you want to keep it or if you want to get your money back.
Yeah. All right. So 2 questions. Gonna combine them, sort of related. So Allison, our good friend Allison asks, any tips on cheap eats in Europe? Really excited to have trips planned. Paris in September, Italy in November, Amsterdam and Brussels in December. Wow, that's amazing. And then Danny asks, I didn't see the announcement about Americans being able to travel to Europe. Will each country have the same rules or restrictions?
Awesome. So cheap eats in Europe, my personal favorite, doner kebabs. See them all over Europe. So delicious, so tasty. I mean, just think, a kind of pita or tortilla wrap with fresh tomatoes, lettuce, onions, oftentimes French fries, and then sort of hero meat or chicken or just super, super tasty, kind of Turkish in origin, but really, really yummy, and usually under €5, sometimes €4, super filling. That's been my kind of, I spent most of my 20s when I was in Europe just surviving on doner kebabs. So that's my personal favorite. I want to hear from other folks though in the comment section. What are your recommendations for cheap eats in Europe? What do you like to get? Do you have any favorites, Julian? Things like, oh man, I love, my wallet's feeling a little light right now. What are you getting for your meal here?
No, what you said, doner kebabs for sure. That was the first thing that popped into my mind. Honestly, depending on where, it's just whatever I walk, like whatever I'm walking right by. I think that's what it is. A lot of the times I don't plan it. I just go, oh, like there's a cart here, or here's a little shop here. And yeah, so nothing specific. I would say the only specific one is doner kebabs that comes to mind. Yeah.
One of the things that I like to do often that a lot of folks kind of forget on maybe or don't consider when they're traveling is just stopping in the grocery store. So for 2 reasons. I mean, one, you can, get a nice baguette, get some good cheese, get some good, I don't know, some vegetables, some hummus, whatever, have a little picnic outside. But 2, a lot of, especially in Europe, a lot of grocery stores have pre-prepared meals or pre-prepared dishes that can be very affordable. You don't have the same like tourist markup on prices that you see at some restaurants, and they can be really tasty and delicious. To Danny's question, the announcement about Americans being able to travel to Europe, super, super exciting news. Yeah, the EU announcing this morning that they're planning to that they're going to be approving legislation to allow Americans back to visit this summer. It's a little, the final details are still a little bit TBD. And so what we're still waiting to hear is when exactly Americans will be able to visit continent-wide and what exactly would be required. It seems for certain, if you've been vaccinated, you can visit Europe this summer. Again, the exact dates TBD and are probably going to vary somewhat country to country. But what's a little bit uncertain is if you haven't been vaccinated, at what date will you be able to get in? And that seems like mostly a question of what the COVID case counts are in the US. Like they're setting a certain threshold and they're saying once any country around the world gets below that case count, then even folks who have not been vaccinated are able to visit Europe. For folks who are watching and have kids wondering what this means for family travel, good news, they're saying that kids are able, who aren't able to get vaccinated can travel with their parents just like normal. They just have to bring a negative test with them. So expect to have to get a negative test. Even if you have been vaccinated, you might have to get it for your children. Each country will not necessarily, will almost certainly not have the same rules and restrictions, though I think you might see some amount of standardization once these EU rules come into place. Could be as early as tomorrow, could be as early as next week. They might approve the legislation tomorrow, but say it only comes into effect on June 1st. It's, again, we're still in a little bit of wait and see mode. My newsletter on Monday is going to be on this topic, and we're going to be following the news closely. So make sure you're getting that signed up at scottscheapflights.com, getting our weekly advice email. But right now, the rules and restrictions are a little bit different country to country. So, there's a handful of countries where you can go right now. You can go to Greece if you need a negative test or you need to show proof of vaccination. But if you want to go to Italy, you can only go if you're on one right now. If you're on one of these COVID tested flights, everybody on the flight has been tested prior to boarding. If you want to go to like North Macedonia or Albania, there's nothing required at all.
Mhm.
If you want to go to Croatia, you have to show either vaccination or negative test. So it's a little bit of a hodgepodge. Get vaccinated. Get that shot. Not only is it good for you, it's going to be good for everybody around you. It's going to make your travel so much easier for Europe and elsewhere this summer.
Yeah, for sure. And then, to go back to Allison's first question, you actually reminded me, Scott, when you said grocery stores, 7-Elevens are also a good spot to go.
It's one of my favorites if you're going in like Taiwan or Japan.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
I mean, Europe, I actually don't know if I've been to many 7-Elevens, but just in general, I think that's something that I always check out. Thank you to Allison, Christine, Katie, Amanda for all of these manatee, and Rosie for all these manatee recommendations. I will need to
have
check
everything
out
you ever
all
need for manatee tourism.
This is great. I'm loving it. I'm learning just as much about manatee sightings as travel. So I love this. Jim is asking, why is it absolutely impossible? To be able to cancel the premium subscription on your website? We're sorry about that, Jim. Definitely, I'm sure you've already tried reaching out to support@scottcheapflights.com, but I mean, it doesn't hurt to definitely email them again. Also, feel free to I don't know, maybe you can even DM me on Facebook or something, and just DM me your email, and we'll I'll pass that along to our member success team, and we'll try to get that figured out.
Yeah, Jim, look, I'm sorry to hear that you want to cancel, but 100%, if you want to go, we are not wanting to stop you. Just please, reach out, let us know. You should be able to cancel it self-service through your account on the website. If you haven't, please just shoot us an email. We'll cancel, make sure that you're not charged for anything you don't want.
Yeah. Enrique says, y'all have to stop doing these lives during my Lululemon shifts. Can I just say how much I love Lululemon? I mean, it's just completely unrelated. But anyways, he said, P.S. I just came back from Honolulu, 160 round trip, but used my Southwest points, $20K for 2 rounds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is amazing. Man, kudos to you for getting a fare that good. Well done, Enrique.
Yeah. Rita asked name of book, and a lot of people, thank you, have responded. It is called Take More Vacations. One thing I wanted to try is, I do have my book here, but it shows, does it show mirrored? Oh, it shows the right way.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
I'm always so confused if it's going to be mirrored or not.
Exactly. That's why I kind of wanted to try that. So yeah, it is called Take More Vacations, and you can order it wherever. Yeah.
It's out. You can get it right now. Paperback, ebook, audiobook if you love my voice. Not many do, but listen, if you're one of the special few, I love this voice. I did the whole audiobook, so yeah.
Yeah. Lori says, looking for that great Hawaii deal from Houston. Where Hawaii is always going to be a popular one, and Hawaii is, while we keep an eye on all deals and all places, we may give Hawaii a little special attention, just because we know how popular it is. We know how many people love going there. So, Brooklyn Joe, bestseller list here. I love that. Next question. Randy says, any deals for flights to the Maldives?
We've seen a few,
Yeah.
mostly from the bigger cities, New York, LA. I can already tell Julian is pulling up our recent list of Maldives deals.
Oh boy.
So the thing to remember with Maldives, it's one of the most remote and beautiful I've never been, but beautiful looking places in the entire world. And so it's typically, given how far it is and given how remote it is, typically not going to be a cheap flight to the US, but given, Jesus, my cat's like walking on the computer. Given that distance and everything, the normal price for a flight to the Maldives is going to be like $1,500. So the fact that we've been able to find them as low as like 800, 750, sometimes even $700 round trip. Again, it pains me because it's not cheap as I define it. Like, cheap is like $300 to Europe, but it's really, really good deal for flights to the Maldives. If you're going, I know a lot of folks are really excited about that I think it was a Marriott hotel that just opened up there. That's like 30,000 points a night somehow with the overwater villa thing. I mean, the like total bucket list.
Goodness.
You're in some hotel room that's like sitting in the water. Crazy. For only 30,000 points a night. What? Like I paid more than that just to stay in like, I don't know, downtown Peoria or something.
Right.
To stay overwater villas in Maldives. So I know a lot of folks are excited for that deal. We're going to be looking for more flights to the Maldives to make sure you get those.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, we always say Maldives is definitely a rare deal. We don't see the deals to the Maldives as much as some of these other places, but we actually, surprisingly, in the last month, have seen it from different origins, definitely, but have seen it come around 2 to 3 times. We just sent a business class deal to the Maldives, and then we just sent 2 deals within May to the Maldives, one in the 790s and one in the 800s. So they do come around. We'll keep an eye out, and if they come back, we'll definitely send them out.
My best guess for why we're seeing those and why I think right now is, and for the next month or 2 or 3 is probably a good time we're going to see a lot more cheap flights to the Maldives, is it's one of the few countries in the region that is open for American tourists right now with no quarantine. Right. You can't travel to most of Southeast Asia, East Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and whatnot without a mandatory quarantine. Maldives, that's not the case. And so you see more airlines flying there, more tourism demand, and as a result, more deals than we might otherwise expect when the entire region starts to open up, hopefully, later this fall or into the winter.
Yeah. So I did compliment you on knowing your book and knowing it was chapter 4 earlier, but I don't know if that's that impressive because Brooklyn Joe is just on fire today. Brooklyn Joe he knew it was chapter 4. So yeah, he also says, my wife saw the title of your book and she told me that I don't need to take more vacation.
See,
I don't know if
when I give copies to some friends, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give you a pop quiz on this in a couple weeks, see if you actually read it. Now I feel like it's coming back on me.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this is a test on you now. And then he also asked, my nephew is getting married last week in March 2022. Congrats to your nephew. When would be a good time to book flights to Cancun?
Awesome. Congrats on that. Well done. Exciting, news for your nephew. Because it's during a low season, March is typically one of the best times of year to get cheap flights. That sort of January through March period is typically when you see the most number of cheap flights. I mean, you could start monitoring now, but if I recall correctly, I think you are not actually based in Brooklyn. My apologies if you are.
I do remember him say, yeah.
I'm going to say based in like South Carolina, somewhere.
That I don't remember.
Regardless, I would certainly not buy any ticket above $300 round trip. I think there's a decent chance we'll be able to get even cheaper than that, maybe under $250. Again, it depends somewhat where you're flying from. If you happen to live in Miami or Fort Lauderdale, you can get that ticket for like $150 sometimes. But the fact that you're 10 months out and the fact that it's during a low travel period, I think I would basically be kind of I would essentially set a Google alert. Okay, see from Phoenix, I would hope to pay under $250 round trip for March of next year. I might take some ideal dates and set a Google Flights tracker. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye as well at Scott's Cheap Flights and make sure that any Cancun deals that pop up, we're going to let you know about. But because you've got so much, I mean, I would make sure I get something booked by like December, January at the latest, because there's so much time between now and then. The likelihood that a sub $250 flight from Phoenix to Cancun pops up, very, very good. So yeah, congrats in advance. I think it's going to be awesome and a really fun wedding.
Yeah. So usually I try to go in order or try to so I don't lose my spot. I've lost my spot, so we're going everywhere now. I saw Dina had. I feel like Dina always has her back. She gave a couple of great suggestions on She Beats. So waffles in Belgium, other pizza at the streets of Italy, great winery at the base of Mount Vesuvius. Wow. And then Nicole said French fry stand has many meats for sides. So thank you everyone for giving recommendations here. That's amazing.
I love it. Thank you.
Mussels in Brussels. You can't go wrong.
Perfect. I love it.
Yeah, and I do want to make a shout out to our very own Kristen. I finally made a Facebook Live with you too. That's awesome. If anyone is on our Instagram or Twitter or any social media, and if you're not, first you should be. But if you're not, definitely shout out to Kristen for making it as amazing as it is. So highly recommend checking our social. How many more questions you got, Scott? You got a few more?
Let's do one or two more.
Okay, cool. As I said, I've completely lost. Pavel asks, any tips on finding deals when booking with miles?
Ooh, yeah, my apologies. I think I'm assuming it's pronounced Pavel, but my apologies if I mispronounce it.
Yeah, sorry.
Tips on finding deals. So, man, it is a juicy, meaty, lengthy topic. Devoted an entire section of Take More Vacations to how to make sure you're getting good value for miles. The big thing, I mean, generally speaking, the remembering that if you have like Chase points or Amex points or Capital One miles, stuff like that, you have two uses for them. You can use them either directly as cash back, so you book directly through like the Chase Ultimate Rewards portal. That's essentially treating your miles as cash. They're worth depends on the credit card you have, but usually about 1.5 cents per point. Or the alternative is that you can convert them to miles within airlines. You can convert them to British Airways miles. You can convert them to United miles, to Delta miles, whatever. It varies somewhat card to card. The biggest thing though that you're going to want to make sure to do is if you're looking at converting them, make sure you find the deal award availability that you want, that looks good, that you're excited for, before you transfer any miles. Because once you transfer the miles, there's no takebacks. There's no undoing it. There's no reversing it. Believe me, I've tried. There's no, you can't unring that bell. And so you don't want to convert, for instance, your Amex, you don't want to convert 100,000 Amex points to Delta miles only to find that the flight that you're hoping to get with those Delta miles isn't available. So search for the award availability first, find that good availability, and then convert your miles and book that award flight.
Yeah, so let's end it on one comment, and then I'm actually going to, just how we started, I'm going to be selfish and I'm going to take the last question again. So the one of the comments, Katie goes, Scott, you made me put Kyoto on my list from when you were talking about it a few weeks ago. You're doing it, Scott. You're changing itineraries. You're adding places to people's lists. I love it.
Kyoto is such a magical place because I love Tokyo, I love Osaka, really built up major big cities, really kind of concrete jungles. Kyoto, very manageable, very walkable, kind of historic buildings, lots of castles and temples and like hillsides with views, just a beautiful, beautiful city you get a real kind of like historic ancient vibe from it. And, you've got the great, Fushimi Inari Shrine. I think it was in Dina Gibbons' profile picture, actually. Well done. You've got the Arashiyama bamboo forest to be able to walk through. You've got my favorite steakhouse in the whole world because the deliciousness to the price is unmatched. It's called Otsuka, Otsuka. Right outside of the Arashiyama bamboo forest. Incredible Murasawa steak there. I'm not like a big steakhouse guy. This place, though, Incredible. So yeah, you're gonna have a blast. Nobody
There
goes
you
to
go.
Kyoto and is disappointed. You're gonna really enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm very jealous because that's one place I have not been yet. So adding it to my list as well. But final question, Justina asks or says, loved Scott on Kelly and Ryan. Yeah, Scott, tell us about that. How was that? I mean, you're famous. You've been famous, but you're like Kelly and Ryan famous now.
It was totally surreal. It was so much. It was honestly, it was really, really fun. But the reason why it was surreal, so you go on this daytime show, you say, okay, yeah, 3 million people are watching you, but the actual, you're recording it in studio with Kelly and Ryan. There were two things that were totally surreal about it for me. One was the fact that there's no studio audience. And so instead, what they do is that they take all the folks who work there, the stage hands and producers and whatnot, and they have them kind of in the background trying to really do these exaggerated, clapping and laughing, really kind of an exaggerated way to kind of give the sense that, oh yeah, there are people there. Which is like kind of, I don't know, I liked it. It was very, it took a lot of ingenuity. But the second thing that was really cool for me was just how nice and personable both Kelly and Ryan were.
That's amazing.
I guess I came into it expecting, I wouldn't be shocked. It's celebrities, like they meet 1 million people. They don't, I wasn't going to take it personally if they didn't want to chit chat or shoot the shit, or if they just, we're just, all right, yeah, nice to meet you. All right, let's do our bit. But like they took so much time in between segments. Hey, how's the business going? Tell me about your family. Where you ever been on TV before? All these really nice things. Ryan Seacrest, told me he loves the book.
He did. That's right.
If Ryan Seacrest wants cheap flight tips and to take more vacations, I think that's enough praise for everybody to be able to pick up this book.
No excuses. Yeah,
exactly. There's no excuses. If good enough for Ryan Seacrest, it's good enough for you. But no, it was so cool. They were both so nice and far exceeded my expectations. So it was cool. It was a lot of fun. I'm hoping to be able to get back again. I saw somebody asking about the steakhouse name, Otsuka, Otsuka. You're going to ideally want to make reservations probably like a month before. Should be able to on the website, but it is delightful.
I just commented it, so hopefully I spelled it right. I also, for those who noticed, I put the YouTube link of Scott's segment on when he was on live with Kelly and Ryan. So check that out. Yeah,
man,
he did great. They did great. It's just an enjoyable segment all around.
So nerve-wracking, so embarrassing. I hate watching myself. I haven't even gone back to watch the whole segment. I'm just like,
really?
Yeah, it makes me uncomfortable. I don't know. Yeah. But anyway, enough about my own personal shortcomings. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your great questions. Yeah. Congratulations on all your travel. I'm so excited to hear everywhere you're going. Yeah. Greece, Hawaii, Maldives. So awesome. So wonderful to be back to travel. If we didn't get to your question this week, we're going to be back next week. Make sure you bring them for us then. And otherwise, have an awesome rest of the week.